the size of the piece names. Okay, piece movement, short or long range, piece origin. Okay. Okay. Breakout room 2, y'all. Trucking right along there. That's probably an American saying, I guess.
It's from a Grateful Dead.
Who I'm sure were magnificent chess players.
Jerry Garcia, I'm sure he was.
Okay, same pieces, parallel pieces. Okay.
Oh, I put it in the wrong one. That's what it is. Sorry, I put my thing in the wrong one. I have to do it. I did it under observation.
Okay.
Where is the? I can't, because I can't see the other thing. That's why. Oh, there it is. No, introduction.
Yeah. Yeah, in the
Is it under introductions?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very top.
Do you want me to put it over there, or can you move it?
Yeah, and you can just add a comment.
Yeah.
Right there.
We'll forgive the American spellings, like categorize.
Can I just move my thing over to the other area? Let me try.
Okay.
Maybe I can. Yeah, I can. Good. Oh. Group, you should say group 3. There we go. Room 3. I did it under introductions.
Okay, so let's, oops. Oh, here it is. Okay. Here we go. Let me move that up. Here we go. I'll put it right there. Okay. Very good. Okay. So again, this is a critical thinking skill. So I'll not linger on this, but just as a way of categorizing, that is a higher order thinking skill in terms of categorizing things in different ways. And you came up with quite a number of them. And I suspect now John had a unique one that we talked about yesterday. I don't see it here, but John, you had a unique one yesterday, which you could only do. Well, I mean, you could list it, but it lends itself to visual, actually having the pieces. Do you remember the one that you mentioned, John?
Well, I mentioned so many things, Jerry.
Well, the one stacking, the ones that you could stack on top of each other.
Yeah, that's an unusual one, but yeah, some pieces stack. You can stack with rooks.
Yes.
You struggle a bit putting something on the queen unless you put several pawns together. Yeah, it's doable.
Yeah. And by the way, I've watched many students do that exact thing. So
that's when students run out of enthusiasm for playing chess, and they just
they just start stacking.
They want to build things with the chess pieces.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go through and again back to from the current slide. Okay, so let me reduce this. So the terms critical thinking and higher order thinking are often used interchangeably. Strictly speaking, critical thinking is a subset of higher order thinking, but when you're talking with educators, they use them interchangeably. So they'll talk about higher order thinking skills, and the next breath they'll say and you know, critical thinking skills. So they use both of them. John and I have had lengthy discussions on the difference between the two, but from an educator standpoint, they use these interchangeably. Let me see if I can, well, something's happening here. Okay, so in chess thinking, we typically think of pattern recognition and analyzing, you know, alternatives, making decisions, metacognition, which, by the way, for those of you not familiar with that term, metacognition is thinking about your thinking. In other words, thinking about how you think. We do that a lot. We don't necessarily use that term, but educators do. Metacognitive skills are those skills where we help them to realize this is how you are thinking, and either you need to change that or you need to remind yourself that this is how you're thinking. So let's talk a little bit about chess thinking. So for example, when we're in chess thinking, there's an aspect of memory. We remember how the pieces move. We may remember opening lines that we've memorized. There are rules of thumb. We'll look at some of those in just a moment. There's analysis. We've talked about that. If I do this and he does this. There's also self-awareness. Coach tells me I move too quickly, so I need to remind myself to slow down. In our decision-making strategy, one of the things we need to talk about is, well, if we're looking at a position, should we attack or should we defend? I need to find some candidate moves. I need to play a move and then evaluate the response, and then I adjust to a new position. By the way, if you've been through the Chess 101 ChessPlus course, I think you will recognize some of these slides because they are from that. Some of the rules of thumb, grab free material, but you want to make sure it's free. Beware of material that certainly it's free. Well, maybe not. But these are all rules of thumbs that those of us who are experienced chess players remember from days past and sometimes forget when we're actually playing. And then the decision-making strategy, finding candidate moves. We look at an option. Does it work? No, we try again. We try another one. Does that work? No, we try again. 3, yes, but it is a better move. Is it better? Yes. So we're going to play that. By the way, yes, we understand this as a chess strategy. This is how we think when we're playing chess. But this really is fundamentally a critical thinking skill. This is how we think about things in terms of analyzing what's the best choice. So though we see it from a chess perspective, an educator sees this is what they're trying to get their students to do, often without success. And so what we're doing is bringing this fundamental thinking strategy into the classroom so that they can use it for these other subject areas. Metacognition. All of these things relate to metacognitive, where we think about how we think. Think before you move. Remember, touch, move. If I touch it, I've got to move it. So I need to think before I move. Maybe I need to check again before touching that piece, or if I've touched it, maybe I need to think again before I actually move it. Do I need to stand up and stretch? Should I take a break? Am I playing too quickly? What is my opponent trying to do? These are all things that we remind ourselves to think about when we're playing. This is metacognition. We're thinking about how we think during the game. Metacognition is just strategic in the classroom because students so often do not think about how they think. They assume that what they've thought about is the only way to approach a situation. And so teachers have to help them to understand there's more than one way of seeing this, and you need to remind yourself of these things, in the process. This is Bloom's taxonomy. If you'll notice here on the left, Bloom's the taxonomy has been revised again. This is sort of almost gospel in the education community. I mean, this is fundamental when teachers are writing lesson plans and they have to demonstrate what skills they're addressing in this particular lesson. Often they will reference Bloom's taxonomy. So remembering is level 1. Can they recall or remember information? 2, can they explain it? Because if they can't explain it, they probably don't really understand it. In the far right column, you'll see verbs that would be used, say, in a lesson plan. So if a teacher were writing a lesson plan and they want to address level 1, maybe that's where they are in terms of the lesson. Well, can they define? Can they list? Can they recall? Can they repeat the things that we've talked about? At level 2, there's understanding. Level 3, applying. Can the learner use this information in a new way? You'll be doing all of these levels in the course of today's course. And analyzing, can the learner distinguish between different parts? So where you see in the far right-hand column, you'll certainly be doing comparing and contrasting. and differentiating in today. Level 5, can the learner justify a stand or a decision? So we have to defend our reasoning. Now in chess, we do that a lot with our students. Teachers that are not familiar with chess don't realize that that's what we're doing, because somebody says, well, I would move the bishop here. Well, really, tell me why. Well, what that means is now they have to defend their reasoning. And finally, level 6, can they create something new? And you'll actually do that later today. Again, this is a different way of organizing these same concepts. When we talk about higher order thinking, we're talking about moving from one level to the next level to the next. Today's focus will be a lot about level 3 and level 4, but as you can see, in any of these activities, there's going to be the use of all 4 levels. It's just that you don't want them to stay at level 1. You want them to move and be able to use skills from level 2 where they can explain something. Maybe they can identify patterns. Level 3, they can develop a logical argument or draw conclusions. Level 4, we want them to be able to create and analyze and critique. So there's a lot of carryover. In fact, one of the activities today that we'll be talking about is where you're going to predict something, and we'll also do some estimates and distinguishing as well. Level 3, hypothesize, differentiate, compare. Level 4, extended thinking. You'll analyze, you'll synthesize, you'll create something. So you'll be doing some higher order thinking activities in the course of today. So these are the critical thinking and hot skill connections that we'll be doing today. Observation, evaluation, analysis, decision making, evaluation, prediction, and then problem solving. So that's where we're headed today. These are the skills that we're going to focus on. Are these the only critical thinking skills? No, not by any stretch. However, this is a one-day course. John and I have talked at length about, this could be a more than one-day course. Yes, it could be, and hopefully you'll have some ideas about, well, you didn't talk about this, you should talk about that. Absolutely. I hope you'll give us those ideas that we can add for the next time this course is offered. So here is your first activity. You will have this position, and you have the JSON file for this. So in a few moments, you're going to go to your breakout room again. And John, will it be random? Will it be the same group as before? Oh, John, okay. I'll come back in just a moment.
Yeah, so Brigitta will
okay. So Brigitta will send you to your breakout room in just a moment. So it may be a different group than you were with before. Just go with the flow. So here's what you're going to do. You'll have this position, you have the JSON file, you also have this diagram in Padlet under activity 1. And we'll look at that in just a moment. But here's what I want you to do. In your small groups, you're going to prepare this. You'll post it in Padlet at the end of your session, and I'll send you a message when it's about time. But I want you to list 3 things that a novice, a beginning player, might notice about this position, and then list 3 things that a novice or a beginning player might miss in this position that an experienced player might notice.
Jerry, excuse me.
Yes.
Which side we should put the novice player? Because I think they will notice different things.
Exactly. Thank you so much for asking that question. I'm so glad that you did, because this is the question that when I'm working with teachers, it's often the very first question: whose move is it? And my response to that question, that is an excellent question. And I do not tell them, because I want them to think of this position from both sides of the board. So you could choose either the white side or the black side, or you may say, well, if the player of white pieces they might notice this, but the black player, the player of the black pieces might notice this. So you can, that's up to you. So at this point, I'm not telling you whose move it is. So you're going to evaluate this position from both sides. Okay, so when you list those three things, you can do it from both white and black, or just from the player of the white side or black side, either one. That's up to your group. Okay, is everybody clear on the instructions? You're going to list three things that a novice player might notice, and then three things that a novice player might miss.
So are we going to get individual logic queue links for our groups?
Yeah, so let's discuss this. So you go to, when you're in your groups, I suggest that only one person really needs to use the logic board. Of course, anybody, but only one person can use the logic board. And then to load, in fact, Jerry, if you can show, how you would do it. You load, you go to the JSON files that you've been supplied with.
Okay, so here we go. This is, and there's the position right there. So if you, have your JSON files that will send you. So you just go to load, and then you go to that and click on it, and it will instantly load right there.
Okay, so one person shares their screen in the group, and then they go to logic queue, and then they do that.
Yeah, that's
okay.
The easiest way.
Just select one person. That will be the easiest.
Okay,
and then they can share.
Okay, so
okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And
so Brigitta, are you going to set up the groups now?
Yep, she has.
I should say that I'm not really familiar with how we're loading all of this yet. I did just run on my introductions a brief précis about myself, and that didn't give the result when it was published, and it didn't appear. So I'm now not finding where I'm going with regard to logic queue and these files. I've got the files, but I don't know what to do with them.
Okay, I can come with you. But are you going to a group at the moment?
Yeah, you can go to room 2, John, with Paul.
Yeah.
Paul is in room 2.
I go to room 2.
I go to room 1, and Jerry, you can go to room 3. It's only 3 rooms I set up, and help out if they need.
Okay. And how do I get there?
Can you?
Yeah.
Hi guys, can you please enable screen sharing for us? Because we need to share a screen. Yeah.
Let me just. Yeah, I did it.
Okay.
Hopefully it works now.
I need to go to a breakout room. That's number 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Try to see.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, well, what is Jerry?
Yeah, I think we are all back now
Okay.
to the main room.
Okay, so if you will, room 3 has added their comments. And so if you will add your comments in that section from rooms 1 and 2.
Who wants to do that from my room? I did the last one. Does anyone else want to do it?
Which room is that?
Room 2. Does anyone else from room 2 want to add some comments of what we saw?
So while room 2 is and room 1 are adding their comments there, let me go to the screen and so I think most of you noticed that a novice player might notice, certainly would probably notice that there is a discrepancy in material. Black's ahead in material. An experienced player, of course, would notice the fork or the checkmate on C1. A novice player might miss, however, the novice player of the white pieces might miss the checkmate. Some of you thought that that would be really simple, but for a fairly beginning player, especially in a primary age, the queen going all the way to the bottom of the board may be a stretch for them because of their visual skills. So, spatial skills that they have. So, and if a novice player doesn't know tactics yet, might not see the fork, the fork on E6. In talking about this, okay, yes, we've talked about a chess position. And one of the things that you have been discussing are what we would talk about as visual and conceptual cues. So a visual cue for you that, are experienced players, the pattern, knight going to E6, you saw the visual cue that the king and the queen were on the same colored square, and the knight could reach a light square, which would attack both of them at the same time. There was a visual. There's also a conceptual cue that's involved there. It's the idea of a fork, because I can guarantee you that there are novice players that would never think about putting their knight on E6. They might see the checkmate and, oh, I've got to protect my king. I'm going to move the pawn to H3, or I'm going to move the king over, or I'm going to put the knight on E2 so I can defend my king. It might not ever occur to them. So there are both visual cues that we look at, as well as conceptual ones like fork and tactical cues. Again, patterns. It's not so much that these are completely separate ideas, but there is a combination there. There is the visual, which has to do with the pattern of movement and the squares and the color of the squares, but then there's also the concept. Checkmate is a concept. Fork is a concept. And so if how many of you have watched beginners games where there was a queen and a rook against a lone king, and all they do is just check, 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 check all over the board, and they never get checkmate because they haven't mastered the concept of checkmate yet. Or you've walked by a board where both kings had been captured and they're on the side of the board and they're still playing. For what? I'm not real sure, because the kings are gone, but they're still happily playing. So they haven't grasped the concept of the game. So yes, there are visual cues, but there are also some conceptual cues that when we're talking with chess, these are also concepts that transfer to other domains. So if we've talked about that, you've put those in, you could have a different skill level. So for example,
Jerry, where the previous position, where was it in Padlet?
where was it in Padlet?
I don't think it's in Padlet.
Yeah, it wasn't on Padlet to add our comments.
No.
Oops, hold on, back.
Was it under activity 1?
Yes, under activity 1. And you see here's, oh, I'm sorry, wrong diagram. Thank you. Oh. Huh.
Yeah.
And I could have sworn I changed that diagram out. Sorry about that, folks. Hold on just a second. Let me. Well, okay. Okay, I'll have to come back and do that. I'll do that during the break. Thank you. I did not notice that. Okay. Either that or anyway, okay, yes.
I can do it in the meantime.
Thank you,
okay.
Brigitta. Thank
So
you
it's
very
the
much.
first one I have to change.
Yes, the first
Actually, talking about it in our group, that one is good.
And no, change this one as well.
To what?
Hang on. Oh, actually, no, don't change that one. Yes.
Just the first one.
Yeah, just the first one.
Yeah. Actually, talking about this position in our group, Coach Manny was saying to flip the board. And when we flipped the board, it was absolutely a new way of seeing things. So it also depends which one a novice player could see or not see, is which side of the board he or she is sitting.
And actually, that's something that Michael did for our group as well. He flipped the board.
Mm-hmm.
So we looked at it from the two points of view, and it looked quite different.
Yeah, it looked quite different, definitely.
And could I just say this thing about not noticing checkmate, because it's a long way away. As we know, teaching young children, some of them find it difficult to reach the other side of the board. So that's the reason they wouldn't necessarily push the queen down towards the end. It's just the reachability.
I think they also notice short moves a lot easier. That's the kind of thing, isn't it, from chess steps, that you need to train them to look for longer moves.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a short move is keeping it in the neighborhood, isn't it?
They tend to. I just look around, like, what can they take that's near?
Yeah.
Can I just ask about that? Michael, you mentioned chess steps. Do you mean the learning chess steps, the Dutch method?
Yeah, Dutch method, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I didn't know that y'all taught that. I would love to talk about that another time.
Some of us do. Certainly locally, our main junior chess club is based on chess steps and then Yusupov.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I also ask about the visual cue? I think flipping the board changes the visual cues. Is that kind of why it's helpful, Miss Jerry, or like, you know?
Well, absolutely. You know, one of the things that we're trying to help them to understand is looking at the position from a different perspective. This also has to do with the idea of spatial skills, because for some younger players, this would be a challenge to move the queen that far down the board. Hang on just a moment.
So visual skills are different than spatial skills, and then that's different than conceptual skills. Maybe I missed.
Well, no, those would be similar. So visual skills would be that pattern recognition. We're seeing the squares on the board. Brigitta, oh, okay, it's slowly. Brigitta, I'm trying to add a new position under the adding complexity, and I'm having a challenge doing that. So, but I'll come back to that. And we can just look at it and discuss it from here. But yes, good questions. yes, you're looking at the idea of in terms of the visual. Hold on. Let's see. Slide. So if you're looking at the visual, if you flip the board, there's a strong possibility that a beginning player will not see certain things, or helping them to see it from this different perspective. Because if they're the player of the black pieces and they're not familiar with forks, they might not see it coming from their side of the board and flipping it to the other so that they can see it from the white side. Now they might. So the visual cues are same thing as pattern recognition, the color squares, piece movement. The concept, though, is it's not separate from that, but it may need to be addressed when you're talking with them, because if they've never experienced tactics or forks, you tell them, okay, think about this position, and they don't know that pattern to think about, they're not necessarily going to see that.
Do you think that that also beginners tend to think about what they can do and not really what about their opponents can do?
Absolutely. I talk about this is playing chess as a monologue versus a dialogue. So, I'm walking through my class, and one of my students says, Mr. Nash, I'm going to do this. And if he doesn't see that, then I'm going to do this. And if he doesn't see that, then I'm going to do this. And I'll walk back a few minutes later. Well, how did it go? Well, he checkmated me 2 moves before I checkmated him, because they were only thinking about from their perspective. And that's true in the classroom as well. They tend to think of situations only from their perspective, not from anyone else's. So that's where we're moving from the chessboard to the critical thinking skill that is necessary for them to function well in the classroom or in any other subject area. Okay, this position is what was supposed to be in the Padlet, Brigitta. I'm going to go ahead and move, and we'll just, this is what
I do it, Jerry. Don't worry about it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so in this one, this is now obviously this from a novice player perspective. And when I say novice, I'm also thinking about the teachers that I train. So this position right here for a beginning teacher who's just learning the moves of chess, maybe has already played chess a little bit, this is a complex position. And this is the challenge when you're working with teachers, from a chess player. So I know exactly what to do here. They look at this, they see all kinds of things, none of which are the things that you wanted them to see. So complex and simple are relative terms when you're talking about beginning students and beginning teachers that you're trying to train to use chess in the classroom. So questions that we might use for this: how do we apply what we already know to this new position? So I'm not going to send you to a breakout room just because of our time. However, if you would share what, based on the position that you just worked with in small groups, what would you bring to this position from that other position that you could apply?
I think you might be trying to highlight the fork mechanism that the white piece had in the previous idea.
Yes.
And ask whether there is a way that you might be able to create something similar in this.
Yes. And that might be also then what were the characteristics of that fork? What were the visual cues in this position? So tell me a visual cue in this position that lets you know immediately that there was a fork available.
The knight is on the same color square as the queen, and the king as its targets.
Okay. So the knight's on the same color. What about the king and queen?
On the same color.
same colored square. Now,
Right.
same colored square for a beginning teacher, beginning chess player, to say the king and the queen are on the same color square, their first, well, yeah, okay. So what of it? Because, well, the knight's on the same color square too. That's great. What are they missing?
I think not just this is just not a fork position, it is also a check position. The knight to e6.
Right?
So a child who has learned to, I mean, who has progressed to the level of doing checks, then he may see this position and just give an immediate check.
Right. And still might not see that he's attacking the queen at the same time.
True, that's true. He may just focus on the check.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now we go to this diagram. What do we notice? What's different about this position from the previous one?
Well, you don't presently have a forking situation. You have a single movement from white to a black square, even though the white knight and both the queen and the king are on the same coloured squares, in contrast to the black squares in the
Why,
previous
indeed,
one.
you have a fork, it's a pawn fork.
Well, you have that to create the knight fork if you're trying to link that with the previous position where a knight fork occurred.
Right. So yes, so now we have a bit more complexity because now we're talking about a pawn fork. And for a beginning player, oh, why would I give away a pawn? That's terrible. You know, coach told me not to ever just give away free material. So now we're talking about concepts where, yes, I want to give away the pawn by forking in order to create something else. So we're helping them apply knowledge from a previous position to a new position. Okay, we're helping them to see new patterns. And so there might be exercises or techniques that we could use to help them see these new patterns, because now the knight is moving to the side, either the left side or the right side, to deliver the fork, not forward like we did in this diagram. The knight was moving forward up the board to create the fork. Now, now it's got to move to the side. That also is a new pattern. So we're bringing some information from previous knowledge, but we have to help them apply it to this new position. So that's part of what we're doing when we are doing this kind of exercise. These are the skills that we are developing. Why I'm talking a lot about this, because when you're talking to an educator, well, we taught them the knight fork. That's meaningless to them. They don't care about knight forks. What they want to know is what skills are they developing. And so now you're able to explain to them, we're helping them to apply prior knowledge to a new situation. Now that communicates. So in this sense, now I want to talk about your final activity for activity 1. So this is what I call beyond the board application. So we're moving, because at the end of the day, it's not just about teaching chess. It's about helping students understand how this apply, and helping educators understand how does this apply beyond chess. So what patterns help you to get to school each day? So let's see, hang on, let me see what kind of time we have. Help me out. Oh,
I think we've reached the
we have.
break here.
Okay, so we're about to take a break. So let me just talk about this for just a moment.
Yeah.
What patterns? These are questions that you could ask your students if you were in a classroom context. What patterns help you to get to school each day? For many of your students, they don't see patterns. They don't see patterns of behavior. Every day is just a shock to them. You know, I talk to teachers, you know, you mentioned the test that's going on Monday. You mentioned the test that's going to be on Friday. From a teacher standpoint, I bet they're thinking about that every day. No, they forgot about that as soon as you uttered the words. So what patterns of behavior do you need to help them to develop so that there'll be helpful patterns rather than harmful patterns? So we've been teaching patterns In chess, now we need to help them to understand there are patterns in life and in their behavior as well. This is just one of many applications that you could bring that will help them beyond the classroom. You could even talk about patterns in math or literature. There are all those kinds of patterns. And if they don't know how to learn patterns, they will not do well in those subject areas. For example, at an elementary school level, if you don't understand the pattern of 2 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 3, 2 plus 4, if you don't understand that pattern, you're not ready for the next grade level, because this is a very simple pattern. It's not simple if you don't know it yet. So there are levels of skill that we're trying to develop. So we're going to stop and take a break. We've got what? How long?
15 minutes.
Okay, we've got a 15-minute break here.
13.
And so if you need to go do something, you can go do that. And we'll be back. When we come back, we'll be sort of narrow down. So that may narrow down your discussion, but you might also think of this from the player of the white pieces, from their perspective as well. But list as many things as you can that a novice chess player playing the black pieces might miss in this position. Okay, so now back up before you go to your breakout rooms. Let me stop sharing for just a moment and talk about the fact that, okay, in sort of backing up, we're looking at chess skills that have application for the classroom, for an educator who wants to use chess to teach. In the first activity, we talked about recognizing patterns, pattern recognition, and then how we might apply that to patterns of behavior. Obviously, there are many more applications than just that, but that's one that we talked about. So that the first skill in terms of critical thinking skill was observation. What do you observe when you see? Do you see any patterns? Do you see any possible continuations? This next skill that we're talking about is the skill of evaluation. This, the position that we're going to look at here is obviously a bit more complex. Now, again, from an experienced chess player, no, it's not complex. It's very simple. From a novice player or a novice teacher who's just learned how to play chess, the fact that there are more pieces on the board immediately adds complexity. And so, and there are other concepts as well that are involved. So in just a few minutes, or just in a minute, John or Brigitta, you'll be sending them to a breakout room. This breakout session should last 10 minutes. While you are in there, I'm going to add a second assignment. Your first assignment is to list as many things as you can that a novice chess player might miss in this position. And again, it's from the player of the black pieces. Okay, so I'll stop sharing. If you will, send them to their groups. While you're in your group, I'll send you the second part of the assignment that you will discuss. When you have finished your discussion, put answers again into Padlet at the end of the session, and then someone be prepared from each of your groups to share what you discussed. Okay, so you'll be discussing what your group discussed with the larger group, and then people within that group can also share. Okay, so you're going to be sent to your groups now. Hopefully the assignment is clear. It's in the Padlet. And can we? Yeah, for some reason it only gave 5 minutes instead of 10. So I'm pretty. And by the way, in your groups, did you receive the message that I sent to you about the 2 questions?
No.
Jerry, the question.
Yeah, we did get the
arrived,
message. We did get the
but
message.
it disappeared fairly quickly afterwards. So it only stays there for a short while. So we were able to read your first bit and then the 2 questions, but then the blue text just disappeared
Jerry,
thereafter.
probably the best if you ask these questions under the Padlet, yeah, and it stays there, and we can always see, and they can always comment if these questions are under the task on Padlet.
Okay, let me do that. And can you send them back to their groups so that they can discuss? Okay, I'm putting it in Padlet
Jerry,
now.
could you just explain the question to us while you're here? So now we're all focused on it.
Yes, hang on just 1 second. Hold on. Okay, so the 2 questions are, let me get to this. Okay, so let me share my screen and then call attention to the 2 questions. So it would be, okay, so the 2 questions that I want, well, let me back up here, hold on. It's the second one, why might students not value a pawn? And the other one is, why might a player hesitate to sacrifice a piece? So choose one of those 2 to talk with, because we're talking about evaluation. And so there's 2 aspects here, the value of the pawn and probably many of you saw the sacrifice that is available for black. So why might a player hesitate to sacrifice a piece? So in your small groups, pick one of those 2 questions, and someone from your group, when you finish talking about it, when we come back together, share what you saw as options that they might miss, and then answer one of those 2 questions.
And Jerry, do we know who it is to play? Is it black?
Yes, it's black to play.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So if you can send them back to their groups.
Okay.
Let's start with group 1. And if you would like to share your screen or just want to come on and share what you discussed for both the position as well as one of the 2 questions that you selected. So someone from group 1. It would probably be helpful if at least somebody from your if you want to share your screen, or if you want to, I'll share my screen and you can talk from that.
I actually don't remember what group number I was in, or like the actual number.
Okay.
Yeah, we were group 2.
Okay. Okay, someone from group 1. Okay, so Emmanuel, go ahead. We'll start with group 2 and we'll come back to group 1 in just a moment.
Sounds good. Did you say you wanted us to share a screen?
If you can, I don't know. Do you have the ability to?
My issue is that I.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, Paul's sharing.
I put mine up
Okay.
that way.
Very good.
One, if only to reassure myself I could do it.
Right.
Okay.
Can you flip the board? Can you flip the board, Paul?
Can I do what with it? Don't
Flip it.
start getting technical on me.
There's a flip board on the bottom left. There's a flip board. You can
Okay.
flip it. Yeah.
All right, there you go. All right.
Okie dokie. All right. More used to ChessPlus, I'm afraid, but there we go. We were talking about the question 2 about what might inhibit a person or a child or a novice in their willingness to sacrifice. And so team, do chip in if you need to add anything. But one of the points that we mentioned was the initial numeric value, perhaps when they're based early on, that they might immediately think of the queen being its 9 points, the rook being 5 points, and they're unwilling to make that sacrifice because they simply don't have the inability or the ability to go one step further. So they can't follow it through with the pawn takes. The second area was they're perhaps more focused in the immediate squares around where the group of their pieces are, and they might not want to stretch to the end of the board that far distance away. And they can't see the transactional gain by playing the queen d1 check and the sacrifice from that. There's some other bits and pieces that people added, so do feel free to chip in.
Okay, anybody else want to comment from that group? Okay, thank you for sharing. Okay, you can stop share and someone Paul, what group were you in?
2, I believe.
Two,
I'm not sure,
okay.
really.
Okay.
2.
Okay, so group 1 or 3, anyway, another group, if you would, to share what you discussed.
No, I think Paul was in group number 1.
Oh, okay.
We were 2 just prior to being sent out again. So right, so that's the confusion. All right, okay.
Yeah, I can share for group 2, but I actually would appreciate if Paul or somebody else shares their screen because I don't really understand how to use logic board, unfortunately.
Oh, somebody's doing that. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Yeah, so the 2 main things we talked about, very similar to group 1, we talked about the numeric value of the pieces. So exactly like Paul said, they might see the queen is worth 9. Why would I sacrifice that for a rook worth 5? And we also thought that had to do with the first question too, about why they might not understand the value of the pawn, on the 7th rank. And yeah, same thing, the pawn is worth 1, so it's not really worth that much. Why would I even care about where it is right now? And I think we also talked about kind of like how our learning is anchored to certain things. So I've actually been in chess positions like this where I'm like, oh, I automatically eliminate certain moves because I'm like, I'm gonna lose some material there. And then when I go back and analyze the game, I'm like, oh, I missed a very useful sacrifice because my learning has been anchored to that value of the pieces. And the issue with anchors isn't necessarily like they're useful, but then it's like, at what point do you get away from those anchors? And I think that's what is hard to teach to kids, because we also made the point that you always teach in generalizations first. So like Mr. Foley was saying, you teach the generalization of this is the numeric value of the pieces. And then you also have to teach them that this is the numeric value at the beginning of the game. But, like depending on what's going on in the game, then a bishop might be actually worth less if it's a closed position and, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I think we were talking about that. And we mentioned really briefly, I think that the AlphaZero chess engine thing, I think they said that they never taught the AlphaZero thing the numeric value of the pieces. And so it does a really good job of having positional sacrifices. So it's like sacrifices that you don't gain any material from, but actually it improves the position in the long term. And those are back to those anchors and blocking of my thinking. A lot of times my thinking, I think the kids' thinking too, is like, oh, we have to think about the material value of the pieces. So I eliminate those moves first. If it loses some material value, even if it has a great positional long-term aspect. Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody from the group want to add on to anything or clarify anything?
Okay, thank you. Let's go to our third group. Do we have somebody from group 3 or the third group that hasn't gone yet?
I think Natasha's on mute if she's talking.
Oh, okay.
Jerry, were we in group 3? I don't remember, to be honest. Were we together in group 3?
I think so.
Matthew, Joe's, were we together in group 3?
I think we changed groups about halfway through, so I'm sure that if you wanted to talk about what we were talking about, it would be okay.
Yeah, go for it, Natasha.
Okay, so can we share the board again, please? All right, so here I think just the basic view that the pawn is actually defending the queen if the queen moves to d1. That may be missed by the kids, and they may not be able to see that once the queen moves to d1, then the rook captures the queen, and then the pawn can actually capture the rook and also promote it is also a pawn promotion position, and it can be checkmate in one move. So looking at this board and seeing like checkmate in 3 moves may be hard for the kids because of hard concepts like pawn promotion and yeah, just defending concepts like that. So that's what I feel is, I mean, for a novice player, it may be hard to see. And they just may focus on using the queen to capture some of the pieces and not really look at the checkmate position.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else like to share? Okay, thank you. If you'll unshare and then I'll share my screen. Okay, so we've talked about, let's see, hold on. Slide. Okay, so we've talked about the value of the pieces. Let me back up here just one. Okay, so we've talked about this position and we looked at the value of the pawn, why they might not see it. Okay, so we're looking at evaluating something. And what we've done is we've looked at it from a chess perspective. And we've taken what, you know, for us might be a simple position. For beginning students, it would not be simple. There are all these concepts that impact their evaluation of how they evaluate something. So now we're going to talk about a beyond the board. Oops, hold on. Okay, my computer is doing a bit slow here. Hang on just a moment. Let me escape here. Hold on. Come back to this. Okay. And okay. Oops. Okay, so now let me share again. Having some problems technically. Okay. So this is a beyond the board application. So we're moving from chess to the skills that they need in the classroom or at home. So when we talk about the value of a piece, somebody already mentioned, you know, a pawn on the 7th rank has a different value than a pawn on the 2nd rank, or you know, if it's on the 2nd rank about to promote, it's much more valuable than it was back on rank 7. So in chess, we evaluate the value of a piece based on its mobility. But what are some ways that people evaluate their own value in life? So a question that you can make in terms of to your students or even to teachers, if you're doing teacher training in this area, is how do people evaluate their own value? So let me stop for just a moment. What are ways that people value themselves?
How popular they are in their class group.
Okay, how popular they are. What's another way?
How much they contribute to a certain project or
Okay.
workplace.
Okay, their value as a contributor in the workplace. What else?
How good are they at everything?
How what?
How good are they at everything?
Okay, how good they
Football,
are.
Classwork, anything.
Right.
Yeah, the same thing I was going to say, how successful or how much they fail in everything.
How might, in terms of an adult, how might they see their value?
How supportive they might be, particularly in a chess or life scenario, to others.
Okay, how supportive they are. I always think of people tend to value themselves or value others by how much money they make.
Yep.
So, you know, in some cases, this valuation can be helpful. In other cases, it can be harmful. And so this is something in terms of taking, you know, our skill that we're talking about is evaluation. How do we evaluate a situation? And part of that comes back to relative value that we've talked about. Someone else, were you going to share something?
Oh, just like social media, how many likes you get on posts, that kind of
Oh,
thing.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Nowadays.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
It is. And that also in some context might be helpful if we're, you know, in a business. From a personal standpoint, could be very harmful. In fact, you know, one of the huge issues in schools now is depression based on their self-value in social media.
Yeah.
So this has a direct application in terms of how students see themselves. You know, one of the aspects, you know, when you play chess, people look at you differently. Someone was going to share something.
Your rating, people just like love to look at like your chess rating, and then
Yes.
sort of they kind of like interact with you differently depending on whether you're graded 120 or 195 or whatever. I mean, that
Yes.
happened to me. My grade went up by 20 points one year, and suddenly people were asking my opinion on things for the first
Yes.
time ever.
Yes.
You know, that kind of thing.
Yes, yes, absolutely. You know, when you go to a chess event, you know, it's usually, you know, not if they ask you your name, okay, but then say what's your
What's your
rating?
grade? What's your grade?
Yeah, yeah, yes. So, okay, so
Yeah, any other event, I think that's not a chess event. The first thing they ask you is, what do you do for work? And I
Yeah.
feel like that's another way people evaluate you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Students,
so
the students ask you, like, are you a grandmaster?
yes. Oh, you must be. You know, like opening names. You know, you must be a grandmaster. So you know, as we're making these applications, we're building this skill of evaluation that moves beyond the board. There's another aspect of this that we've been talking about in terms of evaluation, not just value, but the idea of sacrifice. And several of you called attention to the fact, why would I give up a queen? That's you know, that's points, and I'm anchored to this concept. And yet when I talk with teachers, I talk about the fact that a teacher asks their students to sacrifice all the time. They want them to do homework. Well, that's for them, that's an investment. So it's this aspect of I've invested something, and what will I get out of it? Well, you're talking about college. I'm in third grade. I'm not thinking about college, you know, or, you know, so there's all of these aspects where we ask them to sacrifice time and effort, and they don't necessarily see the immediate benefit from that. We talked about, well, how many moves ahead are you thinking? And so now we're bringing our chess thinking back to this aspect of sacrifice in real life. So these are beyond the board applications. that that we bring. John, how are we doing on time? And I don't hear you if you're saying something, John. I'm not hearing. We're going to move on to activity 3. This is in your Padlet, this diagram. And so we're going to go back to small groups, to breakout rooms. And let me come out of here and go to the Padlet. And let's see.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Jerry, on the far left of your Padlet, you've got the timetable, which yeah, that about down below, yeah, the schedule. So that tells you that
Okay.
you know, in theory, in 15 minutes we're going to have another break, but I suspect people are prepared to delay that a little bit.
Okay, so yes, so let's go to where are we? Okay, hang on. Evaluation. Oh. Okay, so okay, again, wrong diagram. So Brigitta, can you change the diagram here? I could have sworn I changed that. So this is the diagram. You do have this in your JSON files. So this one is, and let me do it, let me expand it so you can see it here. So you'll have this diagram, it's in your JSON file, and these are the questions. And so you'll have about 5 moves. You may not get to all of these questions, but the main one is how do we choose and eliminate, and then obviously choose a move and defend your reasoning. If you can, in the process of that, what patterns are we building on that we could use for this? So let's, I don't know, Brigitta, if you're able to change that in the Padlet yet or not. I'll try to change that. But
I am, yeah,
in
working
the process.
on it.
Okay. So, but it's this
So
position
this one
right
is
here.
the activity 3 analysis decision
Yes.
making.
And this diagram is in your JSON files. So when you go to your group, you can upload the activity 3. It will be this position.
When you say choose a move for each player, are you still just limiting that to white moves first? Or are you saying that you want to switch it to give black the move?
Actually, because of the time frame, it's white to move. Right, and okay. So we'll consider it just from the player of the white pieces. Because of the time frame. If I were doing this in a large group and we had more time, I would talk about from both sides, because I want to emphasize, looking at it from different perspectives. But because of our time frame, I thank you for asking that question. Yes, we're just looking at it from the white perspective.
And Jerry, are we just looking at this as like a normal chess player, not as a beginner, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Just like someone who's graded above whatever.
Yes. And so what we're doing here is how are we choosing the candidate moves? Okay. How are we eliminating moves?
Yeah.
And then choose a move for white.
Jerry, is it, do I have to re-edit and change this image, or this is an extra image?
This we need to edit, so we need to actually, let me do this.
No, because you don't have it. You don't have it. Just leave it with me. You don't have the PNG image.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I have to edit, not an extra image to add.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So if you can see this, this is the diagram that we're going with. I could have sworn I had that. Sorry about that, folks.
Okay, refresh your page, Padlet page, and check if this is the one.
Okay. That's it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so you're ready to go to your breakout room. Here's the position, and then here are the questions underneath it.
Great. Next one.
Oh, there we are.
Hello, hi Brigitta.
Hi, hi.
Yeah, Dan, I just.
I'm not going to call him. I'm just going.
So for activity 4, we're doing a prediction activity. Now, for this activity, you'll be put in pairs. And I'm going to go back and forth between Padlet and the PowerPoint just so that you'll be able to see some of the text a little bit larger, but you'll see exactly what you need to see when you go to Padlet. You'll need the JSON file for activity 4, and you'll need to share that when you're put into pairs in your breakout room. So let me switch to this and go to the current slide. So we're about to do a prediction activity, and this one will involve level 3 and 4. Actually, will involve all 4 levels for strategic thinking and extended thinking. So this is the activity. It's bishop versus 8 pawns. But this is not just the mini game. There's an addition here because, again, we're trying to make the application beyond the board to these other skills. So we're going to be looking at evaluation, prediction, explanation, and reflection. So you'll need to make, not only will you be playing the game, but you'll be typing in comments in advance. You can either do that it actually would be helpful to do that in Padlet underneath the activity. So I'll come back to Padlet in just a moment. So in terms of this activity, if a pawn reaches the 8th rank, it's safe. So even though it could be captured on the 8th rank, if it makes it to the 8th rank, it's safe. So here's the evaluation part of it. For white, how can I get as many pawns as possible to the last rank? And for black, how many pawns can I capture? Now this, you're doing this evaluation non-verbally. You're thinking about this, you're looking at the board, you're thinking, okay, what strategy am I going to use? Then you're going to make a prediction. How many pawns from the white side, how many pawns will I get across? Well, if you're thinking 8, you're just pulling a number out of the air because you can probably assume I'm not going to get all 8, but how many will I get? From the black side, how many pawns can I capture with the bishop? This is what you'll type in. So if you were in a classroom, you would have them write this down. Before you start playing the game, though, you in addition to how many pawns that you think you'll get across or capture, you have to explain what strategy am I going to use? Why do I think I can get this across? So you've got to take a few minutes before you actually play the game, evaluate, take a look at the position. I'm assuming you're doing that now, even as I'm talking, because you're chess players. But you're going to make a prediction, but before you play the game, you're also going to put in an explanation. What strategy am I going to use? Why do I think I can get this many? Then you're going to play the game. After the game, you're going to type in your reflection. So you don't want to, now I think, yeah, in the Padlet, you've got, I think, plenty of room to do all of this. So before you post it, then you're going to put your reflection. How many pawns did you get across? How many were captured? How does this compare with your prediction? And then what did you learn? So it doesn't have to be lengthy, especially, I said I was, earlier you typed in, I think I'm going to get 5 pawns across. I got 4 pawns across. Well, now you've compared that. What did you learn in that process? So this is the extension activity. Okay, so let me get out of here, go back to Padlet. And so here is where, here's the explanation again. So if you know, you'll be able to see that in Padlet. It's the exact same text I showed you in the PowerPoint. So here's the activity, you know, again, evaluation, prediction, explanation. Type that in, you know, but don't hit enter. Then play the game, then type in your reflection. Okay, so does everyone understand the instructions of what they need to do? John, anything you can think of from your end that I didn't explain very well? You're muted, I think.
No, I think it's fine. Just people must be aware they're going to be put into pairs,
Yes.
and they must at least one of them must have the JSON file which they upload and then share it with their opponent.
Right. So you'll need to share that in the chat box in your breakout room.
Yeah. So they're both, you know, otherwise you would have given the link, but it's because then you can see what's going on. But I think it's just simpler if within each room, the two people come up with the position themselves.
Okay.
We
Now,
play
remember-
both
And
colors.
not share the screen, but share the logic board link with each
share
other.
the
Yeah, the
logic
important
board
thing
link.
to share the logic board link. Yeah. So, yeah. Right.
Somebody asked about, so one of you will say, I'm going to play the white pieces. The other person say, okay, I'll play the bishop.
Yeah. But I think the important thing is the discussion beforehand,
Yeah.
trying to predict how many pawns can get through.
Right.
You know, what's a reasonable number we're best playing. And then you have to test it out. So it's not really a case of you play with black and you play with white as well, or play with bishop and play with pawns. It's a question of mutually working out what is the solution here.
Actually, in a classroom setting, you would be doing exactly that. You would not share your strategy. For this context, yes, that's perfectly fine to do that. But with your students, you would have them write it down, and only at the end would they share their reflections. So they would, yeah. So, but yeah, in this case, certainly it's fine for you to talk about it. And that's why we've given you 20 minutes, because we know it's going to take a little bit to get set up and to have that discussion. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. Brigitta, if you will send them to their pairs.
And we will come around and visit and make sure everybody's doing okay.
Jerry, you going to be with Ericsson?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So they're going to play and they still have to put their thoughts in Padlet, right?
Yes, yes. Put your
Okay.
thoughts in Padlet.
Okay, I'm going to open up the rooms now. It is editable, John. I added you as a collaborator.
Oh, really? So I wonder where I do that then.
Do you see the icon, edit icon on the right-hand side down below?
No. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I do a big pardon.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I
Very,
think Yes.
Yeah, why don't we check into other rooms
Okay.
and
How
see
do I
they
do that? Can I just?
click on breakout rooms and
Okay. I'm there.
and you can join.
Okay.
Yeah, I suggest, Jerry, you just nip through them all just momentarily, just to make sure
Okay.
they're doing okay.
Okay. I'll do
You
that.
go to room 1, I go to room 2.
Okay. Great.
I go to even numbers.
All right, all right, all right. You do the even, and you do the Jerry. You do the odd, and Brigitta does the even.
He is gone already.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay, I joined
Okay,
room.
I'm just going to make sure this is okay.
No, this is not okay because yeah, it's chess and logic. I renamed already, so all the changes you make, it's going to be okay. And at the end,
Okay, I'm going to make a few changes, but I'm just going to take stuff out if it's too complicated.
yeah. And there is stuff about logic board bodies, so you can just delete them.
Yeah.
How was logic? How was room 1? All fine? Good. You are muted, Jerry.
We cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, 1 was doing fine. I'm going to go to 3 now.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to take out this logic land thing. Just take it out. How do I get rid of that question? Bin. Ah. Yeah, I'm going to duplicate this question.
Recording in progress.
All right, let's stop.
Okay, hopefully you had a good experience. I'll share my screen. Well, actually, I don't think I won't share my screen. I would like to have at least a few of you comment on your experience. No particular order. If you want to raise your hand, I'll call on you, or just go ahead and unmute and share.
So, go on.
Go, Natasha.
Okay. Hi, Jerry. I was with Michael in the breakout room. And one of the things, interesting things I learned from him is actually in this kind of position, probably one of the things that you can do is attack the pawn from behind. So if you're left with the bishop and the pawns, you attack them from behind. So that's an interesting thing I learned from Michael, and probably this is a strategy. I probably have done it, but never thought of it in a way. So that's one thing I learned from Michael, and yeah, I'm going to use it in my classrooms.
Very good. Very good. Someone else. Mark?
We came up with a strange idea that what happens if the bishop is captured? That somebody might think, let's give the bishop away, and then you don't get any pawns across.
Okay. So
if the game ends.
You would have to clarify that in the directions that if they capture it, then all the pawns get across.
Yes, this is like
Yeah,
because otherwise the bishop will just capture and
right.
Win all the pawns. And if you do play that, you can continue. The bishop will only be able to capture 1 pawn, since you can strategically keep the bishop out from behind.
Right.
So yeah, the game will be over in a few moves.
Okay.
So treating it like chess players, as we did, without the bishop there, white can't move because black hasn't had his turn.
Gotcha. Yes. Okay, good point. What else?
So the prediction wise, we could gauge that we could get maximum pawns across against the lone bishop, because space and time, there's a lot of space and time. If the bishop is attacking 1 pawn, we know we just move it forward. If it's attacking another pawn, we move it forward, you know. So we feel that maximum pawns can reach the last rank.
Sorry, Keyur, one question here. How many did you actually manage to get across on the last rank?
Okay. I played very badly. Okay, so I
Just a general question.
I got across one pawn. Okay, I played very badly.
Okay.
All right.
How many did you predict, KU?
I predicted 5.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I got 5 actually on the other side.
But I had bishop and Ericsson had pawns. He predicted 5. He got across 4, and I predicted to attack 4 pawns, and I got by 4 pawns.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the recording was on because I'm not sure if
Yeah, it is.
when we went back and forth. It is okay.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Emmanuel, what about your experience?
Yeah, Hari and I had a really, I guess first it was interesting because we were theoretically just saying, okay, we want to get on this diagonal and attack, 2 pawns at once so we can get 1 pawn and things like that. When in the prediction phase, I think I predicted 3 pawns. Hari, I'm not sure how many pawns you predicted we could get across.
Yeah, my ideal would have been 3 or 4. That's what I predicted, yeah. But something terrible happened at the end, you can tell everyone.
You got them all across.
No, it was worse for me. My bishop, I was anywhere I'd move my bishop, I'd get captured. So yeah, I didn't see that one coming.
Oh wow, you got trapped.
We got into some long position, which I think is a very interesting and fascinating thing to talk about with kids. Like, because I mean, it happens in life too, unfortunately. There's times where you don't like any of your choices and you still have to make a choice, unfortunately.
You do the least worst thing. You do the least
worst thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
I'd like to ask Paul and Mark, did you predict that you were going to get 7 pawns across, and did you get 7 pawns across?
We initially started discussing 7 pawns on the expectation that the bishop would give up for 1.
Okay.
However, we weren't sure on that predictive stage whether the bishop might get behind the pawns.
Yeah.
Our strategy was simply to keep all the white pawns blocking every which way the bishop might go. And we set that out at the start and we tested that, and the bishop didn't have any chance of doing anything more than capturing 1 pawn.
Okay.
Okay. Which is why we then led on to discussing the fact that if the bishop can sacrifice itself and isn't taken because the game would then end, would the bishop then just simply keep capturing each of the pawns in turn, and so you would get none to the end of the board anyway. So we got 7 through. Okay.
Oh, you did get 7 through. Wow.
Yeah, it's very hard to get through with a bishop on the back.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and talk a little bit about extending this. So how could you extend this activity to continue hot skill development? And do you understand what I mean by extending this activity? In education terms, you have the initial activity, and then what else could you do after this activity to continue their higher order thinking skill development? Does the question make sense, or would you like me to give you an example?
Example would be nice.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So for example, you could compare and contrast with other pieces. So instead of a bishop, you could have a knight. Now they're not only thinking about how they did with the bishop, well, how did my strategy and my thinking and what I learned in the bishop, how did I bring that with this knight? So now I've got to compare what's similar and what's different versus, say, a knight or a rook or some other piece. Another way you could extend this activity is to have them think about, as they listen to what other people shared about what they learned, what did you learn from their experiences? So those are two ways that you could extend this so that you're still having them to continue that thought process. Can you think of any other ways that you might extend this?
You could restrict one of the pawns getting to the end of the board. For example, the E pawn has got to be the last one to get there. Or you could limit the number of pawns that can then be on a black square at any stage of time. Sorry, conversely, say that two pawns have got to be on white squares during the course of this at any given time, which would then mean that white would need to come up with a different strategy. There may be others of that ilk, but those two that came to mind.
Okay, good suggestions. Anyone else?
You could ask them to use a specific strategy, like based on the share side, when everyone shares their strategies, which I'm not sure if we did clearly, which I would have liked us to do. But based on that, you could say pick, someone else's strategy, pick Mark's strategy, John's strategy, Jerry's strategy, and try to solve the position with just that strategy.
Good, good. Anyone else? Okay, well, hopefully you have a greater understanding that here are the skills that we're developing in this. We're doing evaluation, we're doing prediction, we're doing explanation, and now we have just gone through the reflection where we talked about our experience and what we learned from it and how we might do something different. The students are getting these skills. The applications of this, of course, is really across the board, but at the end of the day, this really is the scientific method. So if you're a science teacher and you're trying to get your students to learn how to do the scientific method, an activity like this has direct applications, because if you're doing science, these are the four areas that you're taking students through. So these are the thinking skills that are critical for any of these areas in terms of problem solving. And so yes, you've done the chess skills. Yes, you're developing some chess strategies, but at the end of the day, these are the skills that they need for these other areas to be successful. Okay, so we're going to come back in just a moment. Let me stop sharing my screen. And we are going to come back to activity 5, but let me go to the Padlet. So hold on, let me share the Padlet and hold on, there we go. Okay, so, oops. Okay, so thank you for sharing your strategies under here. Okay, very good. So some of you even included diagrams, because I was a little unclear, so I'm glad you shared that. Okay, so thank you for sharing in Padlet, that process, because again, this part of what we're doing right here is the aspect of writing that we want them to learn how to do. At least a teacher does in the classroom. Maybe not as a chess coach, you're not interested in their writing skills, but if you're a classroom teacher, this is as important, or certainly more important than the chess skills that are being developed. Okay, so now we are moving on to activity 5. And this is a similar and different. Now, you can create these as JSON files. I don't think that you need to, because basically you can pull these up. So let me get back out of this. So in this attachment, there are 4 chess positions, and a chess tactic is either in place or available. 3 of the positions have the same tactic. One does not. So in your group, you're going to figure out which position is different and why. Does that make sense? Is that clear? And let's see, yes, okay. So in addition to that, what skills are students using in solving this? Okay, so let me edit this. Hold on. I want to edit. Well, I'll just add it. Okay, so there. Okay, so let me stop sharing. You're about to go into your groups. These groups, Brigitta, will not be in pairs, but in groups of 4. So you'll go to your group of 4, go to the Padlet. You can open up that screen and see the 4 positions and discuss which one is different and why, and what hot skills are they using. And then put your answer when I give you the signal toward the end. Yes, Coach, you had a question?
All right. Yeah, Erickson asked a good question in the chat.
Yes.
Maybe we're going to get to this, but I'm just interested in, you know, the actual point of attack. How do we lesson plan these things into our lessons? But maybe we'll get to this later.
Okay, yeah, that's excellent question. And let's discuss that after we finish this activity, okay? And before we move on to the next one, okay? Very good. Okay.
Okay. John, you want to go to room number 2? Jörg is missing from there. You are muted.
I'm in a room. Jörg is in this room. Oh, Jörg has just left.
Oh, okay. So he's there.
Right, I'm just doing a little bit of tweeting. I'm about to tweet. You sent me a nice image there, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm putting it on Facebook. What was Coach Money asked? Good question, Erickson. Could we address this in a lesson planning structure? What's that?
What's he asking?
It's in the chat.
Yeah. What about it?
So how can I structure the session in 60-minute slot? Any suggestion on a lesson plan?
Yeah, I think Jerry wants to answer that. So we just make sure that Jerry answers it when he comes back. I mean, that's the way, isn't it?
Okay. So I'm going to ask, can we have these questions and answers on Padlet?
Yes. Yeah.
Please.
Okay. Yeah.
Because yeah, if they put everything on Padlet, it's such a useful material.
Yeah.
With all this information.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to post on Facebook.
Yeah. So I'm going. You can see on Twitter my ones as well. Ah.
Yeah.
He's used retweeted. This is good. This is doing well.
It's funny they are retweeting because it's not an ECU course.
I know. That's why I'm quite pleased with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you using my photo?
I'm going to use your photo now. Higher order. Order. Thinking. Let's now use your photo. Where have your photo from? Copy. Oh,
But what they shared, was it my photo?
who? What?
What ECU shared?
No, it's the one I did. I mean, but your photo of the slide I'm doing now.
Yeah.
High order thinking. Part of the course on good old thinking to chess. Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant.
Okay, I posted it on Facebook too.
Yeah, I think now who else have I not copied this to? Who shall I send it to? Higher order thinking, is it? Higher. No, it's not really coming up.
I'm sorry about this Dan guy. So we had yeah, 12 participants at the end.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know what happened to our friend. Anyway, I think this is, we can improve this course quite a lot, but I think basically it's okay.
Yeah.
We can, yeah, have a bit of work to do on some of the examples. Yeah.
So yeah, they seem to be. I'm gonna drop in on another room here.
Jerry.
Yes.
Is there a Twitter handle for the US Chess Federation?
For US chat, there probably is. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure that there is.
Okay, I'll just give it a go. Yeah. The US Chess School means.
And it's good they don't do the test and feedback. It's so much to digest. The material is just too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I think who else can I just need to think who just hashtag this to. Need a US feed a. Who else do we know?
in the feedback form, when we ask teaching role, I would take out this parent stuff. Nobody is a parent here. And
Michael Bennett is actually, but
oh, okay.
But
and don't you have a better word for teaching stuff, or it's okay?
Yeah, okay. Can you show it to me? Yeah. Teaching role would be a better one, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Teaching role. Oh, it says it says teaching role. Your teaching role. Why does it say your teaching role at the top then?
Your teaching role. Then what?
I don't know. Is that
teacher assistant? No?
Yeah. Teaching assistant. Yeah. Yeah, it's called a teaching assistant, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just due to parents, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. None of the above. Okay. Hi Jerry. I just
updated.
I just tweeted to the US Chess Federation, so you know, who knows. And Dana as well. Just keep it in house. They need to know that we are progressing with courses, irrespective of whatever kind of Armenian-inspired courses are insisted upon by FIDE.
Right.
I think this is what, you know, this is what people really appreciate, this sort of thing. So it's people here are genuinely here to learn and experience things. That's my impression.
Yes. Yeah, I'm anxious to see, because basically in terms of the lesson plan, I'm going to ask them to start out with, how would you plan these kinds of activities, and let them.
Yeah.
Good idea. I just always.
Would you measure whether they actually got that? So yes, that's a good point. So starting at so Paul, you're saying start at the back end in terms of when you're planning a lesson, and let that be the sort of the starting point. What are they going to come away with? Is that what you're saying?
That will also help you if you've got limited time, because then you won't overload the earlier steps with too much.
Right. You'll make sure you get that included. Okay. Someone else. How else? What other aspects would you think about in planning a lesson that you're trying to include higher order thinking?
Hi Jerry. What's nice about your puzzles is that they're open-ended questions. So when you're planning for this type of activity, you want there to be so some children will reach a certain stage, and then you can probe further, and it's accessible to all of them. Different children will spot different things on the puzzles, and that's really important, that they all feel that they've got something to contribute.
Right. And it's not just about finding one single answer. Here's the right move, and I didn't get that, so I don't, you know. Okay. So how would you, in planning a lesson, what I'm hearing you say is that finding a good position that leaves itself open to a lot of input is important.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you can think of that?
I think it's also important to scaffold the questions as well. So you'll have a generic question, and then you'll probe a bit deeper, or direct children to look for what it is that you want the objective to be. So plan out your questions from the teacher perspective. You need to have that really clear. Okay. And also give them time to talk. So they need to have their thinking time, sometimes in their pairs. Sometimes they might need to note something down, but you don't just want to fire questions at them. You need to give them that time to process, because not all children or adults can spot things straight away.
Sure. Make sure you type that into the feedback box. Those are really good ideas. Someone else.
Oh, just what Harry was just saying there. Basically, sometimes when you're a strong chess player, it's really hard to put yourself in the shoes of someone who can't see things immediately or quickly. And you know, it's just really important. It's the same thing that she was saying, just to really bear with people and be really patient. And you know, it's just because a lot of what we do is pattern recognition, but some of us have been playing chess for 45, 60, 50 years. And it makes a big difference if you just learned it last week or something.
Yeah, and you know, I learned by mistake. You know, I show it to them on the demonstration board, and they got it. Well, now they know it. They're good with this. And then they go to the board and wait, did we not talk about this ever? Like
we've done this once before.
Like 2 minutes ago. There's another aspect of this in terms of in lesson planning, anticipating that for some, and I don't know if your experience is similar to this, but I know that, you know, I would say, okay, so here's the question. And immediately I'll have several of the guys raise their hand. I know the answer. I know the answer. And I'm thinking, how do you know the answer? I haven't asked the question yet. And at the same time, there's this girl sitting over there, and she's despondent because, well, obviously I'm not getting this because I didn't raise my hand, and they obviously got it all correct. And what she doesn't realize is that half the time they don't get it right either. So in planning your lesson, how do you keep them from answering right off the bat so that it shortcuts everybody else's thinking? So that's also a part of that lesson plan. And Harry, coming back to, you know, scaffolding those questions, how do you keep them from answering too quickly? So those are points as well. Someone else, how would you build these ideas into lesson plans? What are ways that you could do that?
You can get them to physically play, you know, especially if you're dealing with young children. No amount of standing up and talking at them or using a PowerPoint or whatever, then you need to actually get them with their hands on the pieces and actually trying to make it a 3D and a real life thing rather than not.
Yes. So making sure in the lesson plan that you have them actually hands-on with the pieces.
Yeah, the other thing, Jerry, is I was wondering whether the class size will determine obviously what happens in the class, because I've been struggling. I was mentioning to my group that in a class of 30, I've found it a challenge in terms of actually planning the lesson because of disruptive students, behavior problems, and other things like that. So that it has been more like behavior management, especially if you don't have an assistant teacher.
Yeah, we've got a website with some kind of information about that kind of thing. If you're interested,
yeah.
I can put it in the chat.
Actually, would you put it into Padlet?
Okay.
Yeah, Michael, put that into Padlet so that we'll have that reference for everybody.
John and I belong to some group, the English Junior something group, what's it called? Junior Coaches Association. And we made a website with a bunch of stuff on it about how to run classes in schools. So I can put that on. I'm just trying to find it now.
Put that in the feedback column, I think. Brigitta, is that the best place to put it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And there's lots of stuff on the site actually. So coaching advice it is. Yeah. So what do I do? Do I just put it on the?
Yeah, in the feedback column. Yeah, just add a new
in
post.
the feedback column. I can do it.
It's at the very end. On the right.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Someone
okay,
else with a question or comment.
Right, something incredible. Here we go. Just lesson plans, etc. Right. Publish. Okay, I've done that now. Right. So basically, when we do in schools, in primary schools, we try to keep the lecture as short as possible, like 10 to 15 minutes, and do it right at the beginning. And like they come in and they sit. There's two things that we do. Sometimes they come in and they play, and we just get them playing right away. So they come in, but then you have to stop them, and then you have to give the little talk, like 10 minutes or something. And the other thing is that you can have a kind of like a 10-minute talk at the beginning. That's and then they come in and they have to sit sort of quietly, but you could put something on the board for to kind of like kind of interest them before the talk, but definitely keep the talk really short, like 10 minutes once everyone's there, because they take time turning up. And then most of the lessons should be playing, basically.
And then at the end, what's the reflection time? What did we learn today? What is it that, and
Yeah,
that
we
comes
can
back to the other comment,
Yeah.
you know, what was it? What, if we're trying to plan for a critical thinking skill, what was it that you did? Did you see that? And then have them.
Oh yeah, did anyone use what we did on the board today? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Someone else, anyone else with ideas on building lesson plans that incorporate these critical thinking skills?
When I'm getting them, and then it sounds very impersonal, but when the children are playing, okay, then I very often say to them just about on the point when they're ready to put it into practice, that I'm wandering around trying to help you, but spotting, castling or skewers or something like that to try and get them to watch out for that. And please put your hand up if you've actually got one you're about to play. And although that means that sometimes you don't always notice them, but it then means to say that they're very pleased when they can demonstrate they're doing something you taught them.
That is really good. I mean, we give them extra points for castling sometimes. Like, so basically, if we've taught castling, and then like they're doing a little tournament where they get points, they get an extra point if they've castled and show you. So that's a real incentive for them to do that.
I guess the age is going to influence this. So if
Yeah.
you're talking about primary, then you're going to be doing some things differently. For example, if you're treating somebody who's 17 or 18 years old or even beyond.
Right. Right. Okay. Anything else?
Yes, I would like to say something. So
yeah.
Every time that when I'm doing an activity in my school, when we are developing the educational chess project, I usually tell the students that they have to observe, later they have to think, and later they have to move when they are doing the activity. If we transfer these three words when they are doing an activity in mathematics, for instance, problem solving, so they have to observe, so they have to read, they have to think, they have to be able to know what they have to do in that problem, and later they have to do the operation. So maybe we can transfer those three words, and apart from those three words to different skills in the daily routines when you are doing an activity in language, mathematics, even in English. So you can try to do something like this.
Okay. Jose, make sure you type those three words into the
okay, yeah, okay, I'll do it now.
Great. And Manny, understand you have to go. Understand. Thank you very much for being with us.
Bye, Manny. Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah, pleasure meeting everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, Manny. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Am I going to get the contact information of everybody? Brigitta, or
did you get mine, Manny?
It's on the
I did
chat.
get yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got y'all's, but I mean everyone else's.
Yeah, I was going to ask at the end of the course if all of you are happy to give each other's contact, because the people want to exchange emails and continue discussing their mutual interest. So if it's possible, yeah, I just want to ask your permission, and then I will do it.
In fact, if you could, if you'll type maybe Brigitta in the feedback box.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I have all the names with the email address. So if you are happy with that, I can share within the group.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have another activity, and then we'll have a time for reflection for the whole course. So let me share my screen and see if we'll get to. Okay, so this is let me come to it here, and I will. Okay, current slide. Okay, so we've done this activity and we've discussed it, and excellent observations, and especially about the lesson plans. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, one of the aspects that we did not talk about is differentiating this activity for skill levels, but obviously you could make these different positions simple or complex based on their chess skill level or even the topic. So for example, you could have 3 of them where it's a checkmate position and the 4th is not checkmate. Maybe it's just not checkmate, or maybe it's stalemate or whatever, and then they have to find the right one. So you could differentiate this activity based on what they already know, what you're trying to emphasize. The idea of the similar and different activity, though, is this is a higher order thinking activity where they've got to compare and contrast. At the same time, they have to identify, what is in each position. So again, based on their chess skill level, these diagrams could be much more complex or much simpler than what we have right here. Okay, next activity that you're going to be doing in your breakout rooms, and in this case, Brigitta, they can have 4 people to a group. So let me explain what this is. This is a dream position. The black pieces that you have you're able to put those anywhere on the board that you want to. The white king and the 2 white pawns remain in place. They don't change from that position. Your goal in your group is to find as many ways as possible using those 3 black pieces to create a position where the white king is in checkmate. Okay. Does everybody understand your assignment? You'll have this, you have the JSON file that you can work with in the Padlet. You will see, hold on, let me get back to actually sharing my screen again.
Jerry, can we assume that the white pawn has not just promoted?
Thank you very much. Yes. So
sorry, black pawn.
In the let's see, the pawns. Okay, yes, and the black pawn has to remain a pawn.
Okay.
Yes. So the black pawn. That's an excellent question. So the black pawn has to remain a pawn, and so you'll be seeing as many positions that you can create. Okay, everybody clear? This position is a JSON file, so you have access to that. So when you go to your group, someone bring it up on the board, you can share it. And in terms of what you'll share in the Padlet, you'll just share the number of positions that you create. You don't have to actually create those positions and share the positions. And if you want to, that's fine. You can do that, but it's not required. So I think, Brigitta, how much time do they have for this? Oops, you're muted. Sorry about that. Muted. You're muted.
This is what I wanted to ask, because we have a break coming up in 13 minutes. So 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then we go to a break immediately.
Yeah, why don't we go to a break immediately and then come back to this after the break? Is that okay with everybody? Let's go to break now, so then we'll come back to this when you come back from break.
Okay, so now it's break time, you are suggesting, Jerry?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we have a break then earlier, and we are back at 5:05.
Okay, 5. Okay, so 5 past the hour.
Yeah,
And
5
how
past.
many minutes?
Yeah.
How many minutes from now?
17 minutes.
Yeah, so it's approximately 17, 15, 16, something like that.
15.
May I ask how much longer it will take? We will take today.
1 hour after the break, 1 more hour.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? Just so
so what we'll be doing, we have one more activity that we'll be working on, and then we'll be reviewing what we've talked about throughout the course.
Okay, I was just wondering because I might have to go to the championship because they're playing. Okay.
And And I don't anticipate that we'll need the full hour, but I would say probably at least 30 minutes at the very least.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. So we'll see you back here in a few minutes.
Great. Brigitta, did you manage to get in touch with Dan Staples?
Yes, I
Okay,
did.
great.
But yeah, all my emails went to his
Yeah.
spam folder.
I think the confusing thing from him was that when you do the order on whatever it was, you get an email back and it says to join the course tomorrow at 1300, click here, and then it just goes off somewhere, which wasn't kind of live.
It goes back to the retailer site.
Yeah, so I think
registration.
that was what confused him, because of the spam thing, he didn't get the extra emails, and therefore he just thought that was the link.
Yeah,
he seems a bit. I've had a little word with him. I've told him the course is great, and he should get on it as soon as he can. So
yeah, I think it. Yeah, we refunded him, so it's all fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's
Excellent.
just a shame.
Yeah, that he missed it. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, because we always send out all this course information via email, because we have attachments, we have this and that. So we are not putting it on the actual registration page.
Yeah,
and
it's
this
kind of
was
funny that it went to
confusing.
spam, isn't it? It's a bit odd.
And also, don't forget, he registered, I don't know, 2 hours before the course started,
okay,
or 3 hours. So I did not have enough time to solve, or he did not have also enough time to find out how he can contact us.
Yeah.
But as soon as I saw he was not here, I sent him an email immediately.
Yeah, I just put something on WhatsApp as well at lunchtime, so I just got back to him.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for sorting that out.
But yeah, thank you also
That's okay.
contacting him.
All right, see you later.
Yeah, see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Did, yes. We had a great time together.
She's
It
a really
was-
nice person.
Oh, very, very, very much so.
I was fortunate this summer. I was in Budapest, and I detoured to visit Judith in her chess palace.
When she is commentating, she is just in ecstasy. She's just so happy. It's so nice to watch. She just loves chess so much. And it's so infectious, you know. She smiles and she's just full of variations and like insight.
Yeah, I really enjoyed following the
Yeah.
Carson championship when she was commenting. I could sit there for 5 hours and just listen to them. Listen.
Yeah, it's just so entertaining. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you also think, you know, you go into
Yeah.
those moves, what she is suggesting.
Yeah, and it's just nice to see the old rivals, you know, get together. They get on really well, you know, and it's very good. Yeah. So
she's just launched her new kind of chess system. Judith.
Oh, has she?
Yeah.
And what's that, John? Is it like a training?
Well, it's extremely comprehensive. I mean, she's got a team of about 20 people developing a chess program. Here we go.
Okay, Sakpalota.
It's only in Hungarian.
Yeah, it's all in Hungarian. So when I was still living there, I went to her course, and it's just full of details, huge, you know, other books.
Wow.
It's a teacher guide. Every lesson have so many activities, all sorts, and yeah, the lucky part that she has a huge company behind her. So she's working together with a lot of people, and it's really nice material.
Do you know when the program in English is going to come out?
No idea. We were negotiating with her a couple of times. John was on her case, but we don't know.
I think it's not the priority for Judith. I mean, you know, English language is not very important if you're a Hungarian grandmaster.
But I'm sure it's something that would sell all over the world if it was in English. So.
Yeah. No, of course.
Well, actually, it's been adapted in China right now, so they've done some translation there. I'm assuming it's so. I saw the Chinese. I don't know what it said, so I'm assuming it's
I did have. I mean, well, without getting too much detail, but I spoke to Judith about this, and she said it was. Yes, it was a translation from Hungarian to English by a professional translator, but not with the nuance that a chess translator would have. So I think the problem has been they were not particularly happy about the English translation.
Yeah, so, it has to be done by someone and put it into proper English, otherwise
it hasn't really worked. You know.
Yeah, they're very different languages. So
from Hungarian into English,
it's always hard.
In the Chinese market, it's a tough call. So no, I think her plan is to kind of first of all dominate the Hungarian market.
Okay.
And when I say dominate, to have it mandatory in all schools in Hungary. That's what. Imagine that in England or America, and then to spread it out into other languages. So
wow,
you know, she doesn't want to do a get rich quick scheme. She wants to consolidate it first of all within Hungary. But bear in mind, Hungary is quite a got a very strong chess culture, and it's quite kind of is acceptable to have quite advanced chess-based educational methods there. Harder to sell that in some other countries in the West in particular. We have it's great stuff. I really is top quality stuff, but it would require a lot of commitment from schools to go down that route. I have to say.
And the basic idea, she is not employing chess tutors or chess coaches, but teachers who have zero knowledge of chess or very little knowledge of chess. So they all go to a training course where they learn the basics. They get these teacher guides, and they have an additional support here and there. And because they have a teaching background, they know didactics, pedagogy, they are better to implement chess and use it as a tool to develop skills in other subjects.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Judith shares, she shared with me and probably shared with John and maybe Brigitta, that, you know, when she made the transition from playing chess and approached the education community in Hungary, it was a transition for her because they did not accept her credentials in the chess world. Well, of course, but she went to the education world and she had to work all over again. Yes, you know chess, you don't know education. So she had to work to find that entree into that group. And that's really common. That really is common from the education end of things. And I think we should have everyone back. Before we go to our activity though, Kay asked a really good question. And how do you encourage students to say, I don't know? And I'll share what I do, and then some of you may have even other suggestions that you would recommend. One of the things that I do, even when if I'm training teachers, and these days, most of what I do is teacher training. I don't work with students as much as I did in the past, but I work a lot with teachers. But I use the same thing with them because in many cases, the teachers are even more reluctant to give an answer than the students are. Just because this is, most of the time it's new material. So one of the things that I'll do with a group of teachers, I'll say, okay, give me a thumbs up if you think you know the answer. Okay, great. How many of you are not sure? Give me a thumbs up. I say, excellent. I am so glad that you're not sure. That means you're still thinking. And that's the important thing. So what I'm doing is giving them permission to not know, and also permission that, okay, you haven't found it yet. Excellent. You're still thinking about it. And that's important. So that's one of the ways that it becomes, you need to do this on a regular basis rather than looking, who has the right answer. Okay, who thinks that they have an answer? Give me a thumbs up. And that way they haven't called out anything. They haven't called out an answer so that they haven't shortcut everybody else's thinking. So, okay, how many of you think you have an answer? How many of you have no clue? Okay, that's good, good. How many of you just don't know? Okay, very good. I'm glad that you shared that, because don't know means you're still thinking about it. So that encourages them to not have to be the first to raise their hand with an answer. So that's one of the ways that I do that. Maybe some of you have other methods that you use that you would like to share.
I have a new class, excuse me. If I have a new class, again, it's at the younger level. I'm usually on the first visit sort of say who knows something about chess. And then you get a show of hands, and then I say something like, that's fantastic. Then who doesn't know anything about chess, and get a show of hands, and that's fantastic too, simply because there's the element of them writing on an empty sheet, an empty page.
Yes, yes. Okay, someone else? While you're thinking about it, the idea behind that question, it really is important, because we want everyone to feel involved in the class. And if you're generally going to have someone who knows a lot about chess and they want to be the first to answer every single time, and if they do, you've lost the rest of the class. They just give up. And that happens even with teachers. I've seen it even with teachers in the classroom. and you had a teacher who wanted to be the first to answer every single time because they knew more about chess. And so, using that same technique. One of the things also that I'll do, okay, give me a thumbs up. Okay. And then I'll walk around, whisper that in my ear. Oh, well, you might want to keep looking, because they didn't know the answer. They thought they did, but they didn't. But they didn't do it in front of the class. I'm just walking around. Oh, keep looking, keep looking. That's good. That's good, but keep looking. So that encourages others to be a part of that.
I don't know
And-
if I'm doing it correctly, but I have a rotation. So I ask certain children to answer, so everyone gets to answer in the class at least once.
Absolutely.
And
That's
even if
another
they
technique.
answer wrongly, I just guide them to the answer.
Okay.
Like I will ask them what is wrong with your answer, or if another student is very hyperactive, like really wants to shout out, I will not let him tell the answer, but I will ask him like what is wrong with the other answer, so that the other player can then start thinking, I need to solve this as well.
Yeah.
So to guide, yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And also you want to challenge them, not challenge, you want to encourage them to feel free to give the answer, I don't know, and not feel like they've failed.
Yeah. So that is the main point, this the last point, because if a student says, I don't know, maximum people say, I know, and there are one or two students who may not understand it. It takes a lot of courage to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why I reward the I don't knows with, I am so glad that you don't know. That means you're still thinking, because what I've seen many times is the ones that raise their hand, I know, they didn't know. They thought they knew, but the person who didn't know doesn't understand that, well, they got the wrong answer. They really didn't know either, but they don't have that critical thinking skill to understand that, well, just because they raise their hand doesn't mean that they know the answer. They're not that sophisticated yet, so they can become very discouraged.
and these people who say, I don't know, I mean, they are more open to knowledge, boom.
Yes. That's why I encourage them to tell them you're still thinking, and that's really important. Okay.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, Jerry. So sometimes when I do a question and a student doesn't understand, or maybe the student answer, I don't know. So maybe another student can do the question as well. So can do the same question with
Ask
different
the
words.
same question.
The same question, or maybe they can do it with their own words, because sometimes students, the information between the students is easier if another student understand the question, and maybe they can do it to the weak student. So sometimes it works.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, when you know your students and their strengths and weaknesses, and you can normally just ask slightly easier questions to the ones that are a bit weaker, and just choose the questions that you ask to particular people if you're doing it in turn. That works quite well, because then they can watch the others answer particular questions, but then they can answer their own question. And also I personally give hints to, and try and lead them through the thought process, which would come to the right idea eventually. And step by step. And some people need more leading than others.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the ways that, had we longer time, one of the areas that I would have talked about would be modeling that thinking process. And so you're actually solving the chess problem in front of them.
Yeah.
So you're modeling, well, okay, when I look at this position, I see this, but then, well, I don't think that's going to happen. So maybe I need to look at this. So you're actually modeling that process. And sometimes you can model, I really don't know. Let me think through this. So you're modeling that whole process for them. And that's important.
Yeah. And say you've got like a 3-move mate, but they can't do it. Then you can just play the first move, sometimes even, and then see if they can do it. And then if they can't, you can do the next move. And eventually they will be able to say what to do.
Sure.
Don't give up on people.
Okay. Other ideas that folks have to help? Well, again, the point that was being asked is, how do you make students feel comfortable with the answer, I don't know, and help them to be able to say that if you're asking a question.
Joey, in my classes I make a big point about it's okay to make a mistake. So I'll praise them for being brave. Thank you for your idea. You're close, or there'll be something I can find to praise them on. But I think it's really important that they're brave enough to give it a go, even if they're wrong or I don't know it yet. And to listen to each other respectfully, and like the way that we discuss and say, I agree with so and so. Like you want to model that. So making mistakes is part of learning, and the children know that's where the richest learning happens, when you learn from your errors. So that's
in fact, that's really good. So you could even say, look, I'm glad you made that mistake, because now we can look at this and this is why, you know?
Yeah.
That's a clever idea.
And it's very important as well to encourage them to answer any question, so that they don't have to be afraid of answering any question if they do a mistake. Okay, as Harry said, it's
part of life,
part of the process. So
yeah.
So it doesn't matter if they do a mistake. So come on, so tell me another answer, or maybe you can do the question in a different way, or maybe another student, or you can do a different thing and different activity. But it's very important to encourage them so that they can get confident.
Yeah, and sometimes if I've made a mistake, or if I've spotted one of them make a mistake, I ask permission if I can share what happened. So we have that culture of, we learn through experience. And if they give me permission, that's fine, and we can smile about it, but we learn from it, because you won't do it the next time.
And sometimes I will deliberately make a mistake in my thinking as I'm thinking out loud, because I want them to challenge me and say, wait, but you didn't see this, so that they become more confident in their own reasoning as well.
Yes, this is very common, isn't it? You ask children a question, they all throw their hand up, and then you maybe pick on a particular child, if you're allowed to do that in schools. And then you ask them the question specifically, and they say they don't know. And you wonder, why did they put their hand up? Well, they're encouraged to put their hands up, I suppose, because it's kind of, we give them permission to make mistakes. They can make a guess and so on. Actually, to say I don't know is quite a sophisticated aspect of thinking. It's almost like critical thinking itself, because it's drawing a line between knowledge and the absence of knowledge. It's drawing a line between statements that you can make which have got evidence for them, you can give a reason for them, and those situations where you don't have the evidence. You actually may be able to say why you don't know, which could be a follow-up question. Why don't you know? Not in a challenging way like you should know but you don't know, but rather, I don't know because I've looked at this, and actually there's no reason to suppose that this is the case. So I think it's almost like a very strict discipline to be able to say I don't know. And in my own personal life, I always find it rather disappointing if somebody says I don't know, because I'm always looking for the expert. We want the expert to lead us on. But the trouble with that is that whilst there are experts, there are also people who are not experts, who hold themselves out to be experts. For example, dare I say, but a politician might hold themselves out to be an expert in how the economy works, and rather than saying, well, I haven't got a clue how monetary policy works and the relationship between interest rates and inflation, instead of saying that, they will just kind of burble out some incomprehensible jargon, and we are expected to form the impression that they know what they're talking about. So personally, I always find it much more reassuring if somebody says, I don't know, because it seems to me to be a sign of honesty, a sign of admission of ignorance, of which there is too little in society, in my humble opinion.
And there's another aspect in terms of, if they say I don't know, a way to follow up with that is to say, well, tell me what you're thinking right now.
Yeah.
And that way they do get to give an answer, and you now have insight into the critical thinking process that's going on. So it becomes an assessment. It also becomes a model for the others.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how they're thinking about it. I didn't think about it like that. So asking them to just tell you, what are you thinking? What do you see right now? And then that becomes an answer.
I'll give you an example of somebody who used I don't know in a surprising way to me. And that was when I was talking to the celebrated Grandmaster and World Problem Solving Champion, John Nunn.
John Nunn, wow.
Dr. John Nunn, who famously went to Oxford at 15, got his first degree at 18, his PhD at 21, and a grandmaster and number 6 in the world. And he was, so he's very extremely competent at both mathematics and chess, and indeed astronomy and numerous other subjects. But so I asked him about, because I've written a lot about chess and mathematics. I asked him about the connection between chess and mathematics. I said, "What, John, in what areas do you think there's a connection between chess and mathematics?" And he said, "I don't know." And I just thought, you know, here's a world expert on mathematics and on chess. But if you talk about this kind of the narrow, tiny interface between them, he will quite readily admit he doesn't know anything about the subject. But that is him being, because he's John Nunn, he's extremely modest, you know, he's extremely reserved sort of guy, but also just from his own, what would you call it, epistemological point of view, he doesn't, he hasn't researched the area, he hasn't done the requisite degree of search for the evidence and study the topic, that he's able to confidently say that he knew something about the subject. So I just think that sometimes when you talk to extremely clever people, they're the ones who say, "I don't know." I think Keir was alluding to this. It's like it is. You do get the sense that a lot of people who don't understand the subject will claim that they're very knowledgeable, you know, about it.
John,
Yeah, they were very good.
About 4 years ago, I played John Nunn in the Whitney tournament. He came out to actually play in that because his connection with Mike Truran. Yeah. And I was doing quite well, and I ended up playing him in, I think it was round 4 or something like that. And I'd never met him, never spoken to him or otherwise, but just sat down opposite. And I decided I would play, okay, without sort of getting too involved in chess, but the Najdorf. I play against his Najdorf because he's a leading expert on that opening.
Oh yeah, he's written books.
And at the end of it, after I'd lost, okay, he actually said to me, he said, "I was a little surprised, Paul, why you played that. Why did you?" And I said, "Because I wanted to learn what you do." And he seemed to actually accept that as a good answer. But the thing that I liked, because he then spent time, even though there was very limited, by going through the game with me. Actually,
were you black?
About some of the theory.
No,
I was white.
Okay.
He's an idol player.
So you played, and you let him play the Najdorf.
Yes,
He thought that was unusual.
I didn't think there was too many other opportunities that I might have to come out with a huge positive
Was
result.
it Bishop G5?
I can't remember now.
Wow.
About 4 years ago, but it was a good game. But it was interesting that he liked the answer and he made the time to actually go through with it. So
he's a really nice chap. I met him on holiday once, and I said, "Oh well, this is amazing. I met you on holiday." He goes, "It happens all the time to me." Everyone always recognizes me.
We're gonna move on here, and we're going to go to the dream position that we talked about. And so you'll go into your groups in just a minute. And I've added these 2 questions. So first of all, you'll have this position, dream position. I added the black pawn must remain a pawn. How many positions can you create where the black king is in checkmate? And then the 2 questions that I would also like for you to follow up and discuss and be prepared to put into the comment section here. 2 questions. what chess information do students need to know to do this activity? It should be need to know to do this activity. And what hot skills, what higher order thinking skills are students using in this activity? Okay, so those are your two questions after you come up with the positions. So Brigitta, if you will send them to their groups, I think you'll have approximately 15 minutes and to both to do the solving and then to come up with the answers to those questions. We'll come back as a large group, discuss what you found, and then we'll talk about the overall aspects of the course. Okay, so Brigitta, if you'll send them to their places, thank you.
Join.
Jerry, I have to go now. I've stayed much longer than I thought I would, but thank you so much. John, is that all right if you say goodbye?
Yeah, okay, Harry, and we're going to send you an email now with you know, tests you can do and asking you for feedback, and please have a look at that. I think you've seen most of it. You've got the flavour for it anyway. It's
now I've got a rush, but it was brilliant. Thank you everyone. Thank you for your help. Bye bye. Bye.
So, which room is Mark going to? Room? Yeah.
I assigned him.
Okay, very good, very good. He's marked as having been assigned, but he's in this room. Is this right? Are we in? No. Okay.
No, he went.
He's gone. Okay, right. Okay.
He's in room 1.
Yeah.
Jerry is in room 3.
Yeah. I thought it was a great question from Keo. I have to say, there's something about Keo. He's very. He strikes me as what you call an idiot savant. You know, he's both brilliant and idiotic at the same time. You know, he can hardly log on and do anything, but on the other hand, he's got the most creative ideas. I thought it was quite
yeah.
Okay.
Pause the recording now.
Oh dear.
And across the board. So if we were taking these kinds of skills and we're bringing them to beyond the board applications. So for example, how do you see, friends or family, or whether it's classes or what, how are they similar? How are they different? And this goes back to the activity that we did earlier with the 4 positions, similar and different. And now how, the qualities that we see that are similar, how are they some qualities understood by others? Now, obviously, some of these questions are a lot more sophisticated and would be for an older age group than a younger group. But even a younger group could, how are people around you similar and how are they different? So that's an extension that brings them into a discussion in the classroom. In terms of your dream position in life, what would it take to, what is your dream position in life? What would you like to be doing? We ask this, a lot of teachers will ask this kind of question, what do you want to do when you grow up? And younger children, they'll say fireman or policeman or whatever. And then you thought, what would it take to achieve it? What are there different ways to achieve it? So we're using those same skills, but now we're using them in a different context. And one of the questions, especially for younger children, can you draw a picture that shows your dream and how you might achieve it? So these are activities that you could use to extend this beyond the chessboard into other aspects of their thinking, because at the end of the day, again, we've talked about the fact that from a chess perspective, yes, we're teaching chess, but we want to demonstrate to educators that we can use chess as the vehicle to communicate these critical thinking skills, these higher order thinking skills. And we've gone through a number of activities today where we've selected certain chess activities and shown that, yes, you could take this chess activity and highlight these particular skills and then apply them into this new situation. So that's been the goal of the course today. We have a short time. I'm going to turn it over to John and to Brigitta in just a few minutes, but I wanted to give us a little time. If you have any questions about the overall chess or the overall content of today's course, before I turn it over to them and they talk about some of the logistics after the course. So let me stop for just a moment. Any questions or thoughts that you have about what we've talked about in the course of today's course?
I don't know. I found myself when I was going through some of those exercises, trying to almost park myself as a chess player to one side. And being honest, it wasn't an automatic movement into just being able to think about hot skills or how they might be applied. It was, okay, I'm probably choosing the wrong words, but food for thought in how it might translate or transfer itself into a child, particularly environment, but not limited just to children.
Sure.
So it's almost like providing another arrow in your bow about something that can move on.
Yes. And I think it is difficult, Paul, for chess players, or at least some chess players, to make that transition, because it so often is just about the chess. And how do we win at a tournament? And these skills that we've talked about today don't necessarily help you to win a tournament, admittedly. Someone else that.
I think that from a point of view, it's very interesting how we transfer the chess world into the educative world, you know. And teachers must know that it's not just playing a game. They should know that there are hot skills that they can apply, that they can implement in the daily routines in the schools while they are doing maybe language, mathematics. And it's very important to have that point of view. And it's not just competitive and do the checkmate. No, there are students think, and that process is the most important thing in the learning process.
Thank you, Jose. Someone else?
Personally, really like the beyond the board section, where we went through what it helps outside of the chessboard. And this is something I might even do in my afternoon chess classes as well, like teach them as well. So we've done the fork. What does this mean outside of the board? This was really nice. This is what I gained the most from this post today. Thank you.
And to come back to something somebody said, you know, for a lot of teachers, they hear the word chess and they automatically think we do not have time for our students to play a 2-hour game of chess during the school day. That's just impossible. And so they dismiss chess with that because they don't understand there are a lot of things you can do with chess that don't take a lot of time, but they still transmit these skills.
And the answer, Jerry, is not that you can play chess in 2 minutes.
Exactly. So we put them on a clock and they play bullet chess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no
exactly.
problem. We just give them a clock.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Makes it work.
Anything else anyone would like to share? Well, let me stop my part by saying it has been a pleasure to be with you here today. Thank you for your time and the input that you've done. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've gotten something from it. I've learned. You guys have given some great suggestions. So appreciate that. I'm going to turn it over now to John and Brigitta, and they've got some logistical kinds of things that they'd like to share with you in the time that we have left.
Thank you very much, Jerry. It's been very good.
Jerry, yeah, great.
Thank you, Jerry, for everything.
Yeah, so I just like to thank Jerry. Good. I mean, this is the first time we've run the course in this format, so one or two teething problems, but looking at the feedback, I'm sure we'll sort that out next time round. I think it's the fact we're embedding software and doing this as well. There's a lot to take in. I realize that. And you know, one question that we would have is, are we trying to do too much in one day? But on the other hand, I think that as Paul mentioned, it's food for thought, and sometimes all you need is a kind of just a kind of hint in a particular direction to make you think about something, and then you kind of run with it in your own way. I think the quality of the questions and the analysis is really superb. I was very impressed, and I'm sure that the people who attend this event are, well, you're self-selecting, obviously, so you're rather thoughtful people by nature. So I think that's you know, that's something that we're all encouraged by, that there are enough of us who are interested in this type of thing. And it's quite brave to be looking at chess to do something other than just kind of score ELO points, but that we're trying to use chess to improve children in a very specific way. And I'm so pleased that Jerry has pointed out how we can reconceptualize what's going on with chess, so that we can offer some solutions to what the education system is looking for in terms of the development of higher order thinking skills. We offer, I mean, this course here is designed specifically for people like us. That's to say, we're interested in chess education. We've got another course, as it happens, next weekend, Chess and Logic. Some of you have already been on that. That's given by Rita Atkins. And so I recommend that if you haven't been on that. That
is really good, although it's extremely different to this course.
Very different, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they have to be different, otherwise.
Otherwise, no, what I mean is it's a different kind of course, and I think it is actually really good fun.
Yeah.
As well as really instructive and educational.
It's got a lot of puzzles.
It's kind of mind expanding in the kind of
John, coming to different, get the teacher's training on the giant board, please.
Right. Well,
that is the only different thing you have.
Yeah.
Kayur is keep asking about this. Yeah.
Yeah, because we've got kind of chess and mathematics, and got chess and logic now, chess and critical thinking, and there's also chess for early years. That's a very different course again, because it's essentially playing chess on a giant chessboard, so the children are running around, performing exercises, singing songs, reciting poetry, and it's a very, very different type of course. But the thing is that we put it on hold because it's much better done in person. But nonetheless, we have developed an online version of that, so we will have to bring that forward as well.
But I just have to say, Kayur, it's not just depending on us. It's all to do with Alessandro Domenici from Italy, if he has time to do the course. I know he was passing the ball back to us, like, okay, ask ChessPlus when we can run this course.
John to put it on ChessPlus, and
I know.
Yeah, so basically what we're doing, we're trying to find the best people in the world to do these various courses, and then design them in such a way that there's a certain consistency of approach, which brings me on now to something else that happens in our course. We have a little test, which is 24 questions in 30 minutes. We deliberately didn't want to squeeze it into this course because we knew there's so much content. So we'll give you 48 hours after this course to complete the test. Pass mark is 50%. Anybody who's concentrating and reach the end of this, I'm sure we'll have no problem in achieving that. So that will give you a certificate, which indicates that you are familiar, or at least aware of some of the fundamental concepts in bringing critical thinking to the education standards. And I think that's something that is for your own satisfaction, but you may wish to present it to some school authorities as required. And it just shows that chess is more than just, you know, playing the game, winning competitions, but it's also developing critical thinking skills. And that test, anybody who passes successfully, they receive a certificate, and it will also be listed on a public register, which is online, so that there is a kind of almost blockchain continuity of your reputation. And we'd appreciate it if you could complete a very short feedback form. Both of the test and feedback form will be sent out by Brigitta, to whom I will now pass you over to. Right.
Can I just ask a question as regards to the slide content? Is that likely to be sent on to us within the testing 48-hour period, should we wish to refresh our memories?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, obviously we don't send out the slides per se, because that wouldn't be terribly helpful, but we're trying to do better than that. For every course, we're developing a course attendees book, and we've been working on one for this course. I don't know if it'll be done within 48 hours.
No, and I mean, you have to accept the fact that we would be normally doing the test now anyway, and wouldn't have it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
yes. So I'm asking the question.
Open book test, but the book hasn't been written yet. But what we can do, though, I mean, I think Brigitta is probably the person to answer this. Really, yeah.
In one of our breakouts, we were looking at the 4 areas in that circular slide, if I'm describing it accurately, and that didn't seem to be available to us when we were trying to work through one of the exercises. I think possibly the thing to do would be that you can get a draft. I mean, we'd probably aim to get a draft out. I mean, I don't want to gainsay what. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, but I thought I'd just
no, that's fine.
No, the question is if we want to give the participants this attendee course book before the test or after the test.
Well, I think the request is it should be before the test is the request, you know, and so I think it's
it might only be myself who's raising the question, so there doesn't seem to be a lot of appetite amongst my fellow colleagues.
It's not. It's not. I mean, when I went to the other course, it really helped to have the course book there, because there was quite a lot of information, and there was actually more information on this course than there was on that one.
Yeah.
So I mean, and a lot of it was quite detailed, and I know that I haven't taken it all in, because it takes me time, my learning ways to really assimilate it and look at it later.
Did we send that out before the test?
Yeah, we had the book right there, and we were working through it as we went as well.
This is not suggesting we're all planning on failing.
No, it's my bad because the book is not ready yet. So.
Well, and also, to be fair, the test is not designed, you know, what's the third word on the 4th line?
No, but
slide number 36, you know. So hopefully you would, even if you didn't have access to the book, you could still.
No, it's definitely going to reach you. My only problem is half term next week, and I'm traveling. John did not know that yet. But yeah, that's why I really ask your patience a little bit. I try to work as and do it as soon as possible. Also the certificates, I'm going to monitor your test result as they are coming in through the Google form, and as soon as we finish here, the email is ready, so I just have to send press the send button, and the test and the feedback form link is going to be there in that email. And I'm working on this attendee course book, and I'm going to send that to you as soon as it's ready.
Yes.
Is it best for us not to wait until we get that before doing the test then?
Oh, you want to?
Is it best for us to just do the test and not wait for the course book because we don't know when it's going to be sent?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's the test is. I don't think it's that difficult. I mean,
Okay.
Without the book, you will be able to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
That appear in Padlet, so we have that in writing.
Oh yeah,
And you will have Padlet available, so there are some things there that you'll be able to see.
No, the Padlet link, I can. I just have to.
Oh, that would be helpful.
I want to clear it out and put the certain sections on and create a structured.
Brigitta, I have a curious sense of humor. People need to get used to it.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. No, because it's good you mentioned, because that I can do it quick. I just have to clear it out, and the meeting notes are ready much sooner. Yeah. And maybe even the attendee books.
Yeah, because Mark Bryan asked a question about Padlet. He wants Padlet link, but you're going to summarize the Padlet, aren't you?
Yeah, first I'm going to summarize, I'm going to rearrange things, I'm going to delete and add things. Actually, going or sitting here and listening the whole course, I just had this idea, but that one is going to be a much bigger work to go through the recordings. And you have this application that the voice can be not printed, but be on a Word document from a recording, and just take out sections which were really interesting and useful and put it also into the course book. But yeah, that is a much bigger work.
That you mean a transcript?
A transcript, exactly.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, because so many useful and clever ideas and thoughts were going here. Yeah.
Okay, so we have to go now, I think. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for attending, and Jerry for a brilliant course. Perhaps we'll see you again sometime. And once a month we do meet as a group of educators. And we host a kind of, is it last Wednesday of every month? Third Wednesday of every month?
No, last Wednesday of every
last Wednesday of every month. We have a meeting to which everybody's been on a course is invited, and we discuss different topics. So if anybody has a topic to discuss for later this month, please let us know, and we'll include it. A general topic. Yeah. Okay. The time doesn't suit Mark, but there we go. Okay.
Same for me.
Right.
Take care. Enjoyed it.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks very much.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Just for what?
Bye-bye.
Right.
Chess for world peace.
Yeah. If only, yeah. Okay, see you. Yeah, I mean, they played chess in Russia, but they didn't seem to be very peaceful.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So
that's the thing. Half term is coming up, and I'm
traveling. Where are you traveling? I'm guessing it's Hungary.
No. I go up to Scotland to visit my friends.
Ah, Scotland. Where about? Edinburgh
and Glasgow. Yeah, both places.
All right.
But yeah, so they do have, actually, if they open the Padlet link, it's still there, so they can access it. While I'm editing, they can still access it. But then after I creating the meeting notes, I'm going to delete it.